We're back, part 3 of our asynchronous interview with Jameson Keefe Over, and we are tackling questions relating to her experiences in mass communications of various sorts. Some broadcast experience, traditional journalism, news gathering and reporting, as well as some burgeoning interests in documentary filmmaking. And we do have more questions about that. But I guess let's first look at a question from Michael, and then we will look for opportunities to sort of ask her about some of our broader interests that relate to this course. All right, so let's hear from Michael.
Hello. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Mrs. Jameson Keefe Over. My question for you today is, which of the production skills do you possess that you find most useful today? Thanks, and have a nice day.
Oh, all right. So we've talked about your experience and some of the skills, but where do your real strengths lie in terms of the technical training and maybe even personal passion?
Yeah, technical training, like I said, once you get that base foundation, then you kind of explore what you like, what you don't like. For me, I love editing in a way. I love the creativity that comes with editing, and one person can take footage and do something completely different from another person. So I have really strong editing skills. I can get things done, but I've always had the luxury of always editing my own projects, so I always have an idea of what I want. I think it's different if you're editing someone else's project. But that being said, editing isn't my favorite thing. It's I think it's fun, but it's also one of the things that after I get done producing, after I get done shooting and hosting and writing these questions and getting my interviews done, it's kind of the last thing I want to do.
Okay.
That's why my documentary took quite a bit to get done, because just getting yourself in front of that computer and sitting there for 8 hours is daunting. But my favorite skill that I possess is my ability to make good decisions in quick situations, and being able to communicate effectively with people whenever you're on a time crunch. So in my resume, I guess I added that I was the first assistant director for a feature film. And that was the worst and best experience of my life. And it was because I was working for this feature film where the directors had also been the executive producers. So they had done all their own pre-production, gotten all these locations, all the logistics were with them. And as soon as the actual film set starts to roll, all of that goes into my hands. And so because they had been doing it all on their own, there were a lot of holes that I had to fill. And I realized pretty quickly that I'm good with dealing with multiple crises all at once, but also staying level-headed. And I think that is really helpful for me, because if I can do it, in a professional sense, I can do it in a personal sense and kind of deal with the logistics of life, and also, realizing what is most important, what's least important, and categorizing things as so, and dealing with them one by one.
It sounds like you are describing problem solving and multitasking, and I think it's important to note, especially in the broadcasting world and in the film industry or filmmaking in general, you have to locate that area. You need to be an exceller.
Yeah, especially if you're starting out and you're freelancing, or if you're doing internships, because, even you, he's a doctor and he's still doing so many different areas and publishing books and all these different things. And so whatever communications field that you end up in, you're having to kind of hustle and do so many different things, and prioritizing, and also being selective with what you end up deciding to prioritize. So, I just graduated, and family members are advising me to, take every opportunity, even if it's unpaid. But, I've spent 4 years kind of getting, my foot in the door with those unpaid things. And now it's kind of well, do I take the opportunity if it's unpaid, or, I have to do that reasoning. And so if it's a big opportunity and it's worth it, you can look at being unpaid, but so many of us know that's a hard it's a hard thing to choose.
This harkens back to, I'm going to draw a parallel to our week 3 interview, and in which Leah Sutherland recommended to not only recognize that risk reward potential, don't be afraid to walk away from some opportunities. At the same time, don't be afraid to risk for the things that you really want to pursue. So actively self-reflection and critical thinking about these, about what you want, setting those goals, very important. You mentioned this idea of hustle, of locating different avenues, and one of the books we are reading in this course, but it's spread across several courses actually as part of our active reading strategy in the communication, media, and ethics major, is Spreadable Media from Henry Jenkins Sanford and Joshua Green. And their motto in this book is, if it doesn't spread, it's dead, right? And so the theoretical takeaway is we must be open to and active in looking for multiple avenues to share our message, right? To engage our passions, to reach a contemporary culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so many avenues to do that today. You just have to use the tools in front of you and just be savvy enough with it to kind of figure out how it works with you. So, you could be doing, YouTube videos, and, everyone might not see it, but you can broadcast on several different forums to where small populations are all seeing it on different platforms, and that makes, your population bigger. And
one of the things that does for you is it's archived, all right? And archiving can be a great thing, and people can discover you even in an asynchronous format like we do here, but something we also stress when we talk about the ethical side of media and communication is it's going to be archived online somewhere at some point, sometime. And so one of our goals in this major now is that we're working toward increasing what we call our positive digital footprint. All right, and so putting projects and ideas and conversations out there, versions of ourselves that resonate in a positive direction, right? Not just sort of socially, but also for our own agency.
Yes, yeah, I definitely agree, because I'm part of that generation that we all got cell phones when we were 13, and some people didn't use them right.
And are still not using them right.
Still not using them right. But yeah, I always was asking myself growing up, like, would I want, my family to see this? Would I want, my boss to see this? And so, like, I think, I don't do this, but I know Snapchat is something that people still are very lenient with, because they're, under some type of illusion that it's, gone in 10 seconds, and it's not. But yeah, just being, for me, I don't have, all the followers or all the likes, but I still make sure that everything I post has a reason to it. I'm also part of that little selfie generation. And so some, women my age, all of their platforms are just a lot of selfies, and I think that you should stay away from the selfie, because people want that experience with you. That's why you're following someone on Twitter. That's why you're following someone on YouTube. You want that experience with them, whatever they're doing. During the break, we're talking about your videos, that when you're outside doing something, people are more interested. So remember that. However you're broadcasting yourself, make sure there's a point to it. You're not just saying something to say it, or showing your face to show it. Get people interested, and you can do that in a very genuine way. If you're genuinely excited to share it with someone, then people that are interested in, what you're doing and your audience base is going to be interested as well.
Recap, what I'm hearing Jameson share with us is find the purpose, right? Find purpose in your communication, but locate the purpose of your message in any given situation, and it will resonate with that desired audience. excellent takeaways so far. Let's grab another question, and we're on a roll here. Let's hear from Aaron. Okay, Aaron's got some questions lined up.
Hello, Ms. Kiefover. My name is Erin Stelger, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to let us interview you today. I have a couple questions for you. First, it sounds as though you've paid your dues doing grunt work as well as calling the shots throughout your experience so far. So, what advice can you share about the importance of gaining experience from the ground up?
Okay, so the question speaks to that sort of the tough labor, right? You've mentioned unpaid labor already, but talk to us about the grunt work, as they say.
Yeah, so there are production assistants in film, and I've done that so many times, and it's still an exciting job. It can still pay well. It can, get you in the rooms with the right people, but also you're, the lowest of the low doing all of, the things that no one else wants to do. But I think the biggest advice I have is, even whenever you have to do that grunt work, or, it's not the glamorous, big decision creative making, still do it in a positive attitude, because like we were talking about before with that networking, if you are, being a production assistant or being, an intern, if you are still excited and you're still willing to learn and can take action, that is going to resonate with people, and they're going to say, oh, well, they were so great on this past job, I totally want them for my next job. And so that's how I've gotten those production assistant jobs. You don't complain, because the people ahead of you, they've had to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so they've paid their dues. They're, where they're at now. And so you don't really want to, bring any negativity into a workforce unless, there's a reason to complain. But
sure.
But yeah, and then I think how cliche is for me to say this, but know your worth. So don't take a job that, just because, you want to get, on a set, or just mm-hmm. because, you think this needs to be next, or you need to get another job. Don't take something that is a lot of hours and not really paying off, and, not in the direction that you want to go, and there's no growth there. So, if you're, doing something just because it says media or film, people can take advantage of your time, and I think that's what's most important whenever it comes to communications, is your time. So make sure that there's a purpose, again, mm-hmm. in the job that you're doing. So don't be afraid to take those kind of lower level positions, because there's someone ahead of you that can get you up to where they are. And don't be afraid to turn down a job, because it isn't all that it seems just because, it's part of media.
Let me ask a quick follow-up question before we take our final break here. When talking about doing the grunt work, performing the minutia that no one else wants, and sometimes not getting paid for it either, you mentioned keeping a positive attitude about yourself. We've had a lot of discussions in this course already about passion, and this question emerged, and we're all over the place in terms of our responses, but if you can speak to it in about 30 seconds here. Can a person fake passion?
Fake passion?
Fake passion, right?
I think that you don't have to be totally on board with an idea, but you can mm-hmm. find an area that you enjoy. My best example would be, I don't want to do sports reporting. Oklahoma yes. loves sports. I love sports, but I don't want to report on it, because mm-hmm. I don't want to know all the stats and all the names of all the people. So I know that I would not do well at sports, because I would be faking it every day. And so I think that you can fake it up to a certain degree, maybe. You can fake being happy or whatever while you're, being a production assistant, but mm-hmm. If you're going to take that one job that you don't really like, and then it's going to lead to the next job that you don't really like, and you're just going to keep on doing something that you don't like, and it's, why do that whenever you could easily be doing something that you actually care about?
Excellent. All right. We'll be right back.